Welcome to the very first of many tutorials from Buy The Acre. Today, we'll be breaking down a step-by-step guide on automated dialing and bulk text messaging using the Buy The Acre dialer. In this 12-part guide, we'll be setting up a Twilio account and application with a few callback and call forwarding features to get you started auto dialing and sending bulk text messages with an exclusive platform offered on buytheacre.com. Before we get started, we would like to thank one of our sponsors, Hunch Group. Many of the tools represented here are a product of their success in customer outreach in the real estate industry. Without the feedback and support extended from Hunch Group and successful real estate companies like yourself, Buy The Acre cannot continue to provide customized solutions and marketing strategies geared for growth. To get started, we'll head over to Twilio.com to create an account. On the top right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see a sign up button. If you already have a Twilio account, you can skip these next few steps. If you don't have a Twilio account and you're new to Twilio, I'll be sharing an affiliate link in the description where you can sign up and get $10 for free. Now I'm going to go ahead and create my account. Twilio has some pretty strict security measures in place. They do require two-factor authentication, so you'll need a valid cell phone, not a VoIP phone, to get started. I've gone ahead and copy and pasted the confirmation link from my other browser. I'm just going to go ahead and put that here. Great. So I'm going to enter my phone number here. Twilio is going to send a verification text message to my phone. When asked which product you're here to use, you can just go ahead and select the voice for now, and you can always add other Twilio products later. Here, I usually just like to select other. Twilio does like to have follow-up calls with representatives, where they'll call back and ask you and try to offer support on getting you engaged using some of their tools. But like I mentioned before, since we're using the Buy The Acre dialer, you can just go ahead and select other. For the third option, you can select with no code at all. To get started using Twilio with the Buy The Acre dashboard, all the coding has been done for you. Technically speaking, Buy The Acre is a third-party integration. So on the last option, you can select third-party integration and click Get Started with Twilio. I don't recommend that anyone get started using Twilio with a trial account. If you use one of our affiliate links, you should have a $10 balance. If not, go ahead and deposit funds into your Twilio account before you move forward. The first thing you should do after depositing funds to your Twilio account is purchase your first phone number. I'm going to come to the phone number drop down and hit manage and then buy a phone number. Make sure that all of the capabilities are selected, and to match to an area code, you want to match to the first part of the number. I'm going to go ahead and put 512 in here for Austin, Texas. Great. Now under active numbers, you should see your new phone number listed. Next, we create a TweetML application that can connect with the Buy The Acre dashboard. So I'll go ahead and put this request URL in the description, but that's the URL that you use to respond to callbacks from Twilio in the Buy The Acre dashboard. You don't really necessarily need to know what that means, but in order for everything to work correctly, be sure you put that URL exactly as it appears here in the TweetML app section of the Twilio dashboard. The Buy The Acre dashboard does not require that you have callbacks for messaging. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this funky, fake looking URL here that doesn't really go anywhere. But we have to have something in the field. We can't leave it blank. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Awesome. So all the callbacks for the API are set up now. Next, we're going to head over to Studio and create call forwarding features. That way, after you're done auto dialing, if anyone ever calls back your Twilio phone number, that can be forwarded to any of your agents' phones. To do that, we're going to go ahead and add Studio as a product to our Twilio dashboard. While we're here, we'll go ahead and add messaging to our dashboard as well. Although we won't really be coming in here much when using bulk SMS with the Buy The Acre dashboard, there are some pretty nice settings that Twilio offers here as far as tracking and monitoring the delivery reports of messages. So we'll go ahead and pin that one as well. Great. I'm going to go ahead and go over to Studio and hit Overview to get started on creating call forwarding features. Let's go ahead and create a flow. Great. Up top, you can see that there's already some triggers pre-programmed for us. To open the widget library, we can click anywhere here on this pane, and the one that we're going to select is Connect Call To, and you can click and drag that back over to the pane. After that's connected, you can select whether this call is connected to a single number or multiple numbers. For now and for ease, I'm just going to go ahead and select single number. This caller ID feature right here that says contact channel address will assure that when a transferred call comes to your phone, that the original caller's phone number, not the forwarding phone number, is displayed on the caller ID. I'm going to go ahead and turn call recording on and hit save. Next, we can go ahead and take the trigger for incoming call and drag it to the connector for connect call. Great, that's all we needed for creating the call forwarding feature. I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. Now we can go back over to our Twilio application and set that studio flow as the default action for incoming calls. To get started doing this, we're going to head back over to active phone numbers. To do that, on the left menu, hit phone numbers, manage, and then active phone numbers. Once you're at the active phone numbers menu, select the phone number you would like to set up forwarding for. Within the pane for that phone number, scroll down to the voice and fax section. Here, you can change what you would like to do when a call comes in. Head over to the call comes in section and change that from webhook to studio flow, and select the studio flow that you set up earlier. Mine is called call forwarding, so I'm going to go ahead and set that one now. When you're finished, you can hit the save button on the bottom. Now, if you created a new Twilio account with this today, you'll notice that Twilio actually created an application for you on its own. You can see that by coming to the top left button here and clicking View All Accounts. Before we log in to the Buy the Acre dialer, we're going to collect some information about our Twilio account that we'll need for later. The first thing is this account SID here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and store it in a notepad for later. Next, we'll go ahead and open this account again by clicking on the link. The next piece of information we're going to need is the auth token. You can show your auth token by clicking on the link here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this auth token and paste it in my notepad for later. Lastly, we're going to go back over to the TweML section that we set up earlier and click on the app name that we set up earlier and copy this app SID. We're going to need that later, so I'll store it on my notepad as well. Next, we'll head over to the Buy The Acre dashboard and create an account. After you've created an account, you can go ahead and log in. Upon login, you will be asked to enter your password again. And welcome to the Buy The Acre dialer. I wanted to do a brief introduction on the dialer, the UI, and how you can use it efficiently in your dialing campaigns. As you can see, there's a pane here that says CSV upload that's open right now. All of the panes in the Buy The Acre dialer are movable, minimizable, and reopenable. And you can also position the menu anywhere you like as well. You can also see here that when you open new panes in the window, that they open beneath the current pane, and you can move and rearrange and organize these in any shape, form, or direction to best suit multitasking and outbound marketing. So the first thing I'll go ahead and do here is close the upload CSV section and import the Twilio settings. Go ahead and delete the filler information. And below, you can also set a follow-up text message, but we'll do that later. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. If there were no errors in your Twilio settings, you should get a notification that says settings updated. Now you're ready to go ahead and get started dialing with the Buy The Acre dialer. Before I get started dialing, we're going to go ahead and move into the next section of our tutorial and get into our data tools. I'm going to go ahead and close the dialer for now and go back to the section that we had before for importing CSV documents. At the moment, the Buy the Acre dialer only supports CSV. But you can come here and import any CSV document or any list of leads that you have, and those leads will be automatically imported into the database that runs on the back end of the Buy the Acre dialer. I'm going to go ahead and give our table a name. I'll call it software sales. Hit the browse button and select the list that you'd like to import. From here, you hit import CSV. It's going to ask you two questions here. Does the first row contain column names? As you can see here, there's a preview of the CSV document that's being uploaded. In the first row here, it does appear there are column names. So we're going to go ahead and select yes for the first option. The next question, are there multiple email addresses or phone numbers? Well, if we come here to the column's name again, you can see that we do have multiple email addresses and phone numbers. So we're going to select yes again. Next, we do have to do a merge for the basic standard fields. It's going to ask us to kind of highlight some of the fields that we're going to be using in the dialer. And we do this that way we can understand which data types we're working with, which area, and the dashboard can perform the filtering effects and the filtering functions the best as possible. So we're going to go ahead and select the phone number here. Since we have multiple phone numbers, I'm just going to go ahead and select the first one. I'll select the address. We don't have a first name, but in this CSV, we do have two different name types. We have a business name and an owner name. So for first name, I'm going to go ahead and put owner name. And for full name, I'll go ahead and put business name. And then I'll also select the city and state. Next, we're going to have the opportunity to change the names of each column and give them a column type. A lot of these column types are important again for filtering purposes. As you can see here, we have mixed text, digits, timestamps, and decimal for column types. And in the first option, if you selected that there were more than one phone number or more than one email address in each column, you'll also be presented with phone number and email address here for column types. A quick breakdown for these column types and what they actually mean. For mixed text, you're dealing with value types that have a combination of alphabetic characters, numeric characters, and special characters. If you select the digits column type, you're telling the software that you're dealing with a column type that has numeric characters only. You can also select timestamps if you want to make sure that any kind of filters that can be applied include date ranges. Decimal column types are pretty much the same as numeric column types, but they have a non-whole number or numbers that appear after a dot in the value. So most of the column types that we deal with and most of the column types in this document are going to be mixed text. But since we're using multiple phone numbers here, you do want to go ahead and make sure that for every phone number that you select phone number here and the column type. And what this is going to do, this is going to split the list on phone number and assure that every different record that gets added to the database has a unique phone number and not multiple phone numbers to make sure that all the phone numbers get called. You're going to do the same thing for email address. For every email address in the list, you're going to come down here and select email address. Now, we also are dealing with revenue as a column type on this list. So I'm going to go ahead and select the digits column type for revenue. And what that will allow us to do is have greater than, less than, or equal to values for filters when we're looking at this data later. So I'm going to go ahead and submit the CSV document for import. After it's imported, we're taken to this selection here for database tables. You can find this page here in the menu by going to Buy the Acre and then database tables all the way on the bottom. And this page will have all of your imported lists. Here you can delete any list that's already imported, or you can open up the list for viewing and filtering by clicking here. So as you noticed before, the list that we initially imported had multiple phone numbers per row, but now this same record for Hogan Properties has been duplicated, and on each row we have a unique phone number and email address. We also have a section over here that says select the column you like to filter. Any of the columns that you had selected earlier in your import process can be filtered. For example, we mentioned revenue. When we imported the CSV document, we let the software know that the revenue column was a digits data type. So when we select the revenue column for filtering, we'll be presented with filters that are specific to the digits data type, which does include minimum and maximum values. You can add either a minimum or maximum value or both. In this situation, we're going to go ahead and filter all of the records in the CSV document for values greater than $500,000, meaning that we're targeting companies with a revenue of $500,000 or higher. As you can see, the only companies that we're viewing now are companies that are making $500,000 or more on our list. I'm going to go ahead and go back. Now you can see here that there's an auto dial button next to the submit button. As a rule of thumb, whichever filter options that are currently open will be applied when sending any leads over to the auto dialer. So now if I were to press the auto dial button, it would only be auto dialing leads with a revenue of $500,000 or higher. So I'm going to go ahead and lower this to $100,000 just so we have a few more people on the list. And I'm going to go ahead and select another filter so we can show you other options that you can use on the Buy the Acre dialer. I'm going to go ahead and select the city category. In order to select the second filter, you must hold down the command or control button while clicking on the second filter. So I'm going to go ahead and, since I'm on Apple, hold down command and select city. As you can see, now we have two different filters set here. So I'm going to go ahead and set the revenue again to 100,000, and we have some other filters to explore here for city. Now we selected city as a mixed text, which means that we can select from unique values. What this will do is we'll go ahead and select all of the unique values that are apparent for that column. In this setting, that means that every city that exists in my lead list is available for selection here. Now you can also filter by typing in any subsection of a string here in the search column. So if we wanted to only include cities that were in San Antonio, not only could we type in the full San Antonio, but we could also just type in the letters S-A-N. Okay, now that I've got those filters set, I'm going to go ahead and send this lead list over to the auto dialer. Give it some time here. We're dealing with a rather large list of leads, so it could take some time. Great. Now, as you can see, the mobile auto dialer has opened up underneath the database table. And unlike before, the left pane has the first lead there ready for dialing. So I'm going to come up and minimize the database pane for now and go ahead and put the auto dialer at the top. So now you're ready to get started dialing. The first thing to take note of is that with the Buy the Acre dialer, the first number that you call is your personal phone number, whether that be a cell phone or a landline. That's the first number that you're going to enter there. And what it's going to do is use your cell phone as a pivot to then call all of the other numbers on your list. One thing to take note of from here on out, on both your personal phone and on your leads phone, when you're using the outbound dialer, the caller ID number will be set to the number on your Twilio account, so your personal phone number will not be disclosed. The call is now coming in on Google Voice. Let me go pick it up. So from here forward, you won't be using the agent phone much. After you've picked the call up on either Google Voice or your personal phone, you won't really need this again until you hang up. So let's head back over to the Buy the Acre dialer. Now that you've got your live line connected, you can get started auto dialing by pressing the green auto dial button in the center. Just as a note or something to keep in mind, whatever contact information you see here is the contact information that's going to be dialing whenever you hit the auto dial button. Keeping this concept in mind in the future will be crucial when it comes to pausing calls and going back to change call statuses, but I'll show you that a little bit more in depth later. Let's go ahead and place the first call.
Save directory by first name. Please hold a moment.
So, some of you may have noticed that after I pressed the auto dial button and started the first call, I pressed the red button in place of the auto dial button that said pause. Now, what this does is it ensures that after the call that you are placing is over, that it does not immediately start the next call. That can give you time to do things like update the call status, as you saw here. Because the first phone number that I called went to voicemail, I went ahead and set the call status to voicemail. That way the next time I come back to this list, I know what the status of this caller is. I can also hit the add notes button here. You can add a variety of notes to the calls as well to help you come back to later when you're placing calls again to make sure that you're keeping up with where you left off with this customer on the last call. For this one, I'll just go ahead and type did not leave voicemail, and I'll hit the save button. Now, and following the theme that I mentioned earlier, whatever contact information is displayed in the left pane is the contact information that is going to be used when I press the auto dial button. So before I get started dialing again, I'm going to go ahead and click the next button here and get a fresh lead. Now that I've gone over updating and adding notes and updating the status of a call, after I place this next call, I'm not going to hit the pause button, and we're going to go ahead and start automated dialing. Now, a few things to take note of. If there's a disconnected phone number that appears or comes up on your call list, it's automatically going to mark that call as disconnected, save that information to the database, and move on to the next call. Otherwise, you're going to have to go ahead and set your call statuses and get to the next call on your own by pressing the hang up button one time. So let's get started dialing. Looks like that was a disconnected number, so the next call is dialing out now.
Take your call now. You can leave a message after the tone. When you have finished, press the pound key or just hang up. Sorry, you can't leave a... Please leave your message for... Linda.
I pressed the hang up button once to end the call. Before we move forward, I wanted to get into a call status that we did not review earlier. If you hit the drop down button here and scroll down to where it says follow up text, the follow up text call status will send an automatic follow up text message to the lead here on the left pane. This templated follow-up message can be edited in the Twilio settings. Before we head over there, let's go ahead and press the hang up button one more time. Pressing the hang up button twice or Pressing the hang up button while there is no lead connected will end the call to the agent phone and completely terminate the dialing session. There is already a templated message stored within the Twilio settings. This highlighted section here can be considered a merge variable. The AnyName variable is designed to allow customers to insert a name from the database row for that particular lead with ease. AnyName prioritizes full name, and if there is no full name present, it will put the customer's first name. If there is no first name present, it will put the customer's last name. Anyways, I'm going to keep this AnyName variable and design a message around it. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and store this message. The settings were updated successfully. So from here forward, if I ever go and hit the follow-up text message button, it will send a message using the template that we just set up. Those are the basics when it comes to the dialer. Just as a quick review, the dialer has 3 modes. The first mode, there is no live call. The second mode, there is a live call, but the auto dialer is not an auto dial mode. This is usually when you're first calling the agent phone and haven't started auto dialing yet, or if you've been auto dialing and you decided to hit the pause button. The last mode is auto dial mode. You've hit the green button and now the auto dialer is automatically calling all the leads in your list. Now that we've reviewed the auto dialer, let's head over to another module and start building our first outbound text message campaign. I'm going to go ahead and set up a new campaign for this tutorial. The first thing we want to do is give our new campaign a name. Next, we give our campaign a message type. For most messages, SMS will do. MMS messages are reserved for picture messages and special media types. We can get more into that later, but we have no attachments for the message we're going to send out today. So we'll go ahead and select an SMS. Here you can enter the framework for a templated message, but I'll just go ahead and leave the sample text in there for now because later we'll have an opportunity to type a real message in there using special syntax that I'll get to show you soon. So let's just go ahead and hit the add campaign button. Great, we see our new campaign here on the pane to the right. I'm going to click here on the campaign name. Next, we're taken to the text message campaign. Here at the top, there are a few statistics. These numbers will change as you start to send out messages in your campaign. Below, you have all of the Twilio phone numbers associated with your account, and you also have a column here for the daily limit. Each phone number is allocated 2,000 text messages per day. This limit is really just to protect your phone from getting flagged from carriers and to ensure that your messages arrive successfully. Based upon our current settings, there are no phone numbers currently selected to be active for this campaign. So let's change that. To add a phone number to this campaign, you can hit the active number next to that phone number in the pane we mentioned below. Let's do that now. Great, let's go ahead and add one more phone number. Awesome. So we've added 2 new phone numbers to our campaign. So on the section over to the right, we'll go ahead and see that the templated message that we set up when we first created the campaign is also visible here. But we haven't really unlocked a lot of the features available to set this message up. To do so, we'll have to take a look at the pane below. Here, where it says insert variables into message, you can set a specific column variable's data to be inserted directly into the message. If you hit the drop down here, currently you'll see that there's no options to be selected. That's because we currently have no list set to send this campaign out to. So let's hit this drop down to the left. Here we can select the software sales list that we uploaded earlier. Now that we have selected a list for this campaign to be sent out to, let's go ahead and insert some variables into this message. You'll notice that now, since we've selected a list for this campaign to be sent out to, that underneath the insert variables drop down, we can select from any of the columns from the software sales list. Selecting any of these columns from the drop down below will automatically insert the variable into the message above. You'll see here that these variables are the same ones we used in the follow-up text message campaign earlier. So what we're going to do is use a few of these variables here to set up a templated message for our campaign. Great, now that I've prepared that message, I can go ahead and hit the Save Message button here above the entry area. Great, now our message is saved. Anytime I want to send this message out, I can come back to this pane and hit the Send button here. Take note that every time you come back to this text message campaign, you're going to have to select which list that you'd like to send it to. Campaigns can be sent to multiple lists, and multiple lists can be the recipients of multiple campaigns. That just about covers the outbound text message campaigns. Next, let's head over to the module for inbound messages so we can see what happens when one of your leads replies to one of your text message campaigns. So hopefully this is a format you're familiar with. Here in the pane to the left, you have all of the messages within your inbox in chronological order. There's a status here in this circle that'll let you know if the message has been read or unread. And it will also let you know if you've replied to a message here for the status that says sent. So we have an unread message here from Castillo Edward. Let's go ahead and open that up. Great, here on the right side, you can see all of the messages that we've sent out to this customer. Next, you can also see their replies. In this situation, he sent both replies after. So both of his replies are showing up at the bottom for stop. So if anyone ever replies stop to any of your messages, Twilio will not send a message out to them again. It'll basically just get hung up in your queue. You won't be charged for it, and the message will never be sent out. So you don't really have to worry about sending out messages to people who have requested to be removed from any of your campaigns. Now, the one thing I do want to note here is the time zone settings that I have set and my Twilio account are for UTC, which is the Universal Time Zone. If you'd like to edit your time zone settings to ensure the time zone reflects the time in your local time, head over to your Twilio settings and you can set your time zone there. That just about does it for this tutorial. If you'd like to continue learning more about our platform, you can check out the next video in our series, integrating Podio with the Buy the Acre dialer. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We'll have more reviews and tutorials for popular real estate marketing tools. Thanks again from the people at Buy the Acre.